My wife and I have been married for 1 year and together for 4. I found out she cheated on Thursday, November 30th. We met in 2020, and because we were on lockdown for COVID, our relationship quickly evolved. She came from a difficult family. Her mother died when she was young, and she discovered her father's suicide 5 years ago. Growing up, she had little to no parental supervision and enjoyed living on the wild side. She was still dealing with the loss of her father and was not attending parties with her friends when we first met. Due to the circumstances, she had to mature quickly. We are deeply in love. We rarely argue because we spend quality time together, communicate effectively, and express our desires and needs. However, she struggles with depression every autumn, which coincides with the anniversaries of her parents' deaths. When we moved to a new city a year ago, she took on a part-time job, and it wasn't long before she started coming home 2 to 3 hours later than expected. Her location would suggest that she was at work. We had a disagreement, and she admitted to spending time with friends who she enjoyed escaping with. I reminded her that she is my wife, and that she should come home to her family. There have been no significant changes. She made an effort and started coming home on time. Every year in late September, her friends from her youth attend a music festival. This year was no different, and it was her 3rd time going since we got married. She promised to stay in touch this time. However, after the first night of the festival, she disappeared. She came home as if nothing had happened and said she couldn't wait for next year. We decided that this would be her last year attending the festival for our 10-year anniversary. While on a business trip, I checked our home security and overheard her on the phone with a friend from the festival. I want to point out that these friends are in their late 20s, single, and spend their weekends partying. My wife told me how they were all over each other the first night of the event and ended the night with a kiss. She also mentioned spending Thanksgiving with this female friend she referred to as her girlfriend. She asked her friend not to judge her and said that it's difficult because we have a good life together. Keep in mind that I spent Thanksgiving alone at home with our dogs. Due to my job, we live far away from our families. I was on a business trip in another state when I received a call about her flirting with a friend. When I got home, I asked her about it. At first, she denied everything and tried to turn it around on me by saying I promised to be gone when she got home from the festival. I told myself, screw this, and decided not to wait for her at home, and instead took an early flight the next morning. This was on the 3rd night, and she admitted to hooking up with a girl on the 1st night. She realized she'd been caught. She also said she hasn't seen this girl since the 1st night of the festival. They bonded over the fact that they both lost their parents and were both drunk. Intoxicated and made out. They went their own ways after the concert that night. She said that it was her father's anniversary this time of year, and she appreciated the attention. We've been spending our days apart since then at my wish. I adore her. I'm afraid I'll never know the whole story in all of these cases. My father cheated on my mother, and I witnessed her always looking over her shoulder and never being herself again. In our first chat, I established extremely firm boundaries that I am done, but I am open to her suggestions to make our marriage work. I told her I was done with that circle of friends. This festival is over. It's still extremely fresh, waiting to see a therapist. Do you believe she has been cheating the entire time? Will I ever get clarity or know the truth about what happened in the next story? Please accept my apologies in advance for the lengthy, rambling message. I'm in a strange place right now. I hope to settle down, rehabilitate horses, and create a family. It's been a hard road, fraught with difficulties, but we've always made it. We recently completed the first step of our ambitions, and we now have a magnificent farm that we developed together. We had our first child a little over a year ago. The whole thing turned out to be a bit more difficult than we thought, considering that we were juggling our work and my horse rescue goals while raising our baby boy. I thought we were doing well until I discovered my wife making out with another woman at our son's first birthday celebration. Our relationship has never been the same since. I tried to look past it all for the sake of our son, but I distrust my wife's sincerity when she claims she wants to try to heal things. I admit that perhaps intimacy and making time for each other were pushed to the side during our son's early months, but I always tried my hardest to make time for activities, just the two of us. I was also very involved in childcare and took as many vacation days as I could to stay home and look after him, so she could rest and focus on her writing and her work. Herein lies the true problem. She continues to visit this woman, whom I'll simply refer to as A, behind my back. I've recently discovered that if she turns it down, she drags my child into it by calling him and asking if she can come over. My child, being the sweet cinnamon bun that he is, wants to be friends with everyone and everything, and it's difficult for me to explain to him why Auntie A can't come visit anymore. When she comes over, it makes everything difficult, and I have to keep up appearances for the sake of my child. Despite this, I've made every effort to move on and give Amelia another opportunity, especially since, to my knowledge, it's never gone beyond flirting and kissing. I grew up in a shattered family and want nothing more than for my son to have the finest upbringing possible. Amelia has practically relocated to her writing shed at her own request. It has all the modern conveniences, and we thought it might make a good study home for a child when they are older and want to do the whole independent living thing while we work things out. Amelia was involved in a tragic accident with a grill that caught fire not long ago, following a period of living separately. Now on to the next story. I never imagined I'd be seeking guidance, but here I am. Here's the scenario. My wife cheated on me because she was depressed. She realizes how much harm she has caused, but she remains in a self-destructive mentality and refuses any assistance. I'm trying to decide if I should divorce her or attempt to help her get better mentally and see what happens. I have a wife, and we recently celebrated our 11th wedding anniversary last month. Our family consists of 2 girls. We are immigrants. She had no work permission for many years, but she was able to begin working in a good tech business 1.5 years ago, after we received our green cards. Before she started working, everything was okay. She was a wonderful, supportive wife and a wonderful mother to our girls. But then she began to change, becoming more distant and self-centered. I work from home, so I was handling everything with the kids, school, and paying all the expenses as I earned more through my own business. It never worried me much. Communication with her became increasingly distant over the course of a year or 2. There were no conflicts, but she was visibly irritated by my presence in the same room. Our intimate life also suffered. I was too busy dealing with various difficulties at work, as this has been a very difficult year, so I decided to discuss this with her later, or wait until she initiated the conversation. Then, during the summer, she informed me that she wanted to experiment with an open marriage and start dating other people. I was taken aback, but I declined because I felt she had met someone at work she wanted to date, and did not want to feel like a horrible person in this position, and I feared she would eventually leave me when it was most convenient for her. I suggested that we seek a divorce and be honest with each other. When I questioned her about the person at work, she stated that I was overthinking, and that there was nothing going on. She expressed her love for me and a desire to improve our connection. After that, she warmed up to me and our intimate life improved. However, I still had doubts about her fidelity, and after a few months, I discovered evidence on her phone. It was a coworker, I assume, who made me unattractive in her eyes. When I confronted her, she was stunned and acknowledged her infidelity. But she said she does not want to stop seeing this person, change jobs, or do anything that would jeopardize our marriage. She doesn't want a divorce and wants to keep our family together, but she simply doesn't know what to do. After considerable deliberation, I decided that she should leave, and that we would divorce. And this is when things got messy. She was in shock for a while, but then she had a meltdown, crying all the time. She was terrified of her future life alone, as this other person has no intentions of anything serious with her, I assume. She can support herself, but only to a point, and her quality of life will undoubtedly suffer. She claims to have damaged her happiness, yet she no longer feels anything for me. The issue is she hasn't been honest with me and I don't know if I can trust her again. Kid, she hasn't felt anything for anybody in a long time. Travels, new vehicles, better looks, key relatives, get-togethers with friends, even this new guy. Nothing really makes her feel anything other than for a brief time. She refuses to seek counseling or medical attention. I'm perplexed, but I have no intention of not divorcing her because she not only strayed, but lied to me about the fact that it was even a possibility when I inquired, and she stopped caring for our children. On the other side, she is visibly depressed, and I'm not sure if she would do something harmful to herself if she was alone in her new flat. She wants to move out shortly. She is still the mother of my children, and while she is in this state, I do not want her to be alone with them, even on weekends. This depression problem might explain why she changed so drastically in a year or two. How she went from being a loving and caring wife and mother to a completely different person. Divorcing her feels like abandoning a sick loved one, which is not the appropriate thing to do in this instance. So what should I do? Should I convince her to seek assistance? Should I offer to let her stay with us a bit longer while she works things out, and then let her go when she's more psychologically stable? Thank you for listening to the story until the end, and if you liked it, please support us with a like, as well as subscribe to our channel. Write in the comments what you think about the story.